welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We got the Joe Burrow nightmare keeps getting worse. Bro, the Bengals, I ain't even gonna lie, bro. Y'all got the most cheapest front office in the NFL right now, bro. Cause like what's crazy is I ain't gonna lie, I feel like y'all should have let T. Higgins go and just paid Trey Henderson, bro. Cause y'all defense was so bad last year. Like the offense wasn't the problem. Like, I feel like y'all could have let T. Higgins go and then grabbed another receiver, whether it was in the draft or in free agency. But you're willing to pay Burrow, Chase, and T. Higgins a combined of like I think over $300 million, and refuse to pay Trey Hendrickson and your first round pick. Like, bro, I ain't gonna lie, nigga. Y'all ain't winning no Super Bowls anytime soon.
Very simple to fix.
That boy Smart Stewart.
Sometimes they take some time, or they're more complicated than they are on
like, bro, he should have been got paid, bro.
To get this resolved in the next 5-6 weeks.
I think for all the rookies, you'd like them to be on the field. But,
it was crazy, like and like in this interview too, he called out the Bengals front office too for being cheap as shit. Like,
very
bro,
simple to fix. Yeah, it's kind of disappointing.
Sometimes they take some time, or they're more complicated than they are on their face, and we're hopeful to get this resolved in the next 5-6 weeks.
I think for all the rookies,
next
you'd like
5
them
or
to be
6
on the
weeks
field,
is
but,
crazy.
certainly, there's things that happen over the course of an
I know
NFL
if
career.
if y'all don't pay him and
I
he,
think after the
you know what I'm
offseason,
saying?
the Cincinnati Bengals situation couldn't get any
Because like I
worse.
think he can hold out until like the 2026 draft too. So Bengals, y'all might be fucked,
how
man.
bad
I ain't gonna
Cincinnati's
lie.
defense was in 2024? You don't. What I'm about to show you isn't just disappointing, it's historically catastrophic. We're talking about a defense that's so bad that they literally set NFL records for futility. And wait until you hear what those records are. Joe Burrow had one of the greatest quarterback seasons in NFL history. Jamar Chase,
if they made the
broke
playoffs, he would have
receiving
definitely won
records. T.
MVP
Higgins
for
was
sure.
elite, and yet the Bengals missed the playoffs entirely. But wait, it gets worse. They're about to lose their best defensive player and the player that they drafted just to help them on defense this past NFL draft. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. And I wanted to give a brief shout out to our sponsor. Personal order try buddy. 13th overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft, is currently in the first major rookie holdout since Joey Bosa almost a decade ago. Now, the reason why this is so peculiar is because rookies can't negotiate their salaries. This isn't about money at all whatsoever, and this is why the Bengals look so bad for being in this situation. This is about something that is way more wild. The Bengals want to put language in Shamar Stewart's contract that would basically allow them to void all of his guaranteed money for the entire 4-year deal.
Nigga, what?
Once. We're talking about a clause that says if Shamar Stewart gets in trouble in year 1, maybe gets a DUI, fails a drug test, or even just gets suspended for some stupid social media post, the Bengals can take away all of his guaranteed money for years 2, 3, and 4.
Nah, see, that's where they fucking up at, bro. I don't blame Shamar for holding out now. Cause I was hella confused like what was going on, but now this explained it, bro. Bengals, y'all niggas fucked up.
And this gives you an idea of how truly desperate the Cincinnati Bengals are.
Bro trying to get his mom out the hood and shit. And y'all sitting here trying to take his bread away.
The Cincinnati Bengals drafted Amarius Mims with the 18th overall pick. That's one pick after where Shamar Stewart went this year. Mims got a completely normal rookie contract without any of this crazy language. So the Bengals are literally asking Stewart to accept worse terms than the guy who got drafted after him just 1 year ago. Now, Stewart's response makes a lot of sense here. The dude walked out of mandatory minicamp and said this.
Very bad. I mean, I've been doing this for most of my whole life, and then all of a sudden it's gone over something very simple to fix. It's kind of disappointing.
Have they given you any answers as to why they're choosing this year and you to set a new precedent?
If I really wanted to say, yeah, I can't say what I really want to say, but it's their contract. They could do what they want with it.
Honestly, that's one of the coldest quotes I've heard from a rookie who hasn't even played a snap yet. And get this, Shamar Stewart has a nuclear option. If the Cincinnati Bengals don't back down, he can sit out the entire 2025 NFL season and re-enter the 2026 NFL draft, where literally any team except the Cincinnati Bengals can pick him. Now, that's never happened before in NFL history, but Stewart's got the leverage to actually pull it off.
I want that to happen. Fuck Cincinnati, bro. Cause what are y'all doing? Like, y'all must not want to win at all. Like, y'all know how bad y'all defense were last year. And Shamar will give y'all so much help, my nigga. Like, I understand, like, the sacks and stuff, it's not all the way there, but sacks aren't everything. You know what I'm saying? Pressures matter more than sacks. He was a disruptor for Texas A&M last year. You know what I'm saying? But, bro, y'all got to do better, gang.
Because he made
Y'all gotta
decent
do
money
better.
from NIL deals while he was at Texas A&M. The kid is 6'5", 267 pounds. He ran a 4.59 40-yard dash at the combine with a 40-inch vertical jump. Those are Myles Garrett level athletic numbers. On top of that, the Bengals desperately need pass rushing help, especially with Trey Hendrickson trying to get out of town. But they're willing to lose their first-round pick over contract language they didn't even require from last year's first-rounder. And this looks even worse when you just take a look at where the Cincinnati
Poggers,
Bengals are
appreciate
as a
that
team.
sub, my boy.
Cincinnati's best player on defense is Trey
Crazy-ass
Hendrickson.
name,
This
too.
dude led the entire NFL with 17.5 sacks last season and was named a first-team All-Pro. He's 30 years old.
Didn't
in his
bro,
prime.
didn't he have back-to-back 17-sack seasons, too? Nigga, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Imagine having back-to-back 17-sack seasons and your team still doesn't want to pay you. I ain't gonna lie, brother. I would have definitely requested a trade, bro. Like, and I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm not going to no mini camp, no training camp, nothing until I get traded. Real shit, bro.
Scheduled to make $15.
Because, bro, what are y'all doing? He's easily our best player on
that they
defense.
needed to extend Jamar
By
Chase,
far,
T.
not even
Higgins,
close.
and Trey Hendrickson. And in my off-season content, I've said repeatedly that what the Bengals need to do is trade T. Higgins for a first or a second-round draft pick, either depend more on Andre Josevich or draft another wide receiver in the NFL draft.
Facts. I
And
feel
that way
like
they can pay.
Man, they could have traded up for T-Mac, you know what I'm saying? Or they could have drafted Jaden Higgins, who, you know what I'm saying, ironically, last name is Higgins, just like T. But, you know what I'm saying, big body receiver, y'all would have got it, you know what I'm saying? Y'all would have got T's replacement right away. You know what I'm saying? Be able to mold him until what T was, you know what I'm saying, now. But y'all sitting here wanna pay the nigga wide receiver one money and shit, like,
Trey Hendrickson, but instead they decided to wait as long as possible, and meanwhile the Bengals sat pat while they watched the edge rusher market get reset, first by Max Crosby and eventually by Myles Garrett, who got paid $40 million
TJ gotta
annually.
get paid
And through it
too.
all, Trey Hendrickson said he wanted
Micah
to remain
Parsons.
a Bengal, but he
I
would
feel like Jerry
understand
Jones will wait
if
till
the
very
Bengals
last
ended up
minute to
needing
pay
to
him.
trade him.
You know, you don't want to become a distraction for the team because inevitably the goal is to win a Super Bowl for Cincinnati. If it's something
that
that we
ain't
can
gonna
agree
happen no
on
time
in
soon,
terms,
buddy.
that would be great.
go
Ideally,
ahead and
my
leave.
wife and I would love to stay in Cincinnati. If it's something that helps the Bengals win a Super Bowl, if they get picks or anything, I want to help win a Super Bowl for Cincinnati if I'm there or not.
And as a result, the Bengals have been a huge subject to scrutiny. I mean, Andrew Whitworth decimated them for the way they handled this situation.
The Bengals are never going to, issue out lots of guarantees and contracts. And unfortunately, they've just continued to be way behind times in that spot. You're going to always get left behind in these situations. Continuously, they've let big free agents leave, but then they've also not been able to replace them. Make a decision.
Facts. Like,
pay the
how
guy.
how many big time players we've seen leave Cincinnati in the last couple years, bro? Jesse Bates, Joe Mixon, who else? Who else is left? That's like the top two. I feel like it's more than I'm missing. Obviously, AJ Green, he was out of his prime by that time. You know what I'm saying? By the time he left Cincinnati, but I feel like it's a couple more that I'm missing. But nigga, y'all letting all these big time names leave, bro, and they tried to replace Jesse Bates with Dax Hill, and then tried to replace Joe Mixon with Chase Brown. I mean, Chase Brown, he alright, but nigga, y'all
Move on from the guy, but stop letting it just linger in the
I'm
locker
enjoying
room.
this.
What's
I ain't
really
gonna lie.
funny is the way Joe Burrow
I'm
wanted to
enjoying
handle
watching the
this.
Bengals,
I mean, right
you know what
after
I'm
the
saying, screw
season
up
ended,
everything.
this was his take on how the Bengals needed to retain Trey Hendrickson.
We started this whole thing together. We came in together, and we've built this thing from the ground up. You don't want to make a habit of letting great players get out of the building, just like I said earlier in the week. T's a great player, does everything the right way. You just can't let him get out of the building.
And it seemed like Burrow was just completely delusional in regards
Very
to
much
how
so,
to
man.
keep this team together.
Have the faith in the Brown family and the Bengals organization so that they don't waste these prime years of a generational
That
quarterback?
cap hit
Yeah,
gonna
I
hit
do.
like
And the
crack in the
conversation
80s,
on
boy.
Everybody involved, Trey, T.
I'm telling you. I think they
DeMar,
gonna have like
G,
what
we all wanna
$140
stay
million
together,
cap
you know,
hit.
You can get those things
So
done.
they
And again, Trey
Sheesh.
Hendrickson isn't asking for anything crazy. He wants to get paid like a top 5 pass rusher, which is exactly what his production says he should be. The man
Top
accounted
3,
for
actually.
48% of Cincinnati's total sacks last season. Without him, their defense goes from bad to historically awful. But here's the messed up part. The Bengals granted him permission to seek a trade, but they're asking for a first-round pick in return. At the same time, they can't even sign their actual first-round pick because they're being stubborn about
I mean, I can see why they ask for a first round pick because of the production, but this nigga old as shit now. Like, how old is Trey Hendrickson? Yeah, like Trey is 30 years old, bro. So a first round pick is kind of crazy for a guy his age, but like production wise, I understand it. But when you got a 30-year-old pass rusher, you know what I'm saying, but he's still playing at elite level, I feel like you at best, bro, you probably should ask for like a second or third round pick, bro. At least, you know what I'm saying? At least get some value back from him and stop trying to be so damn greedy. Because if y'all get a first round pick, y'all probably not even going to hit on that first round pick knowing how y'all work, gang. You know what I'm saying? Then in the next 4 or 5 years, y'all not going to be willing to pay him. Like, bro, make it make sense.
Contract language. It's like they're actively trying to make their team worse, and they're sending a message to the rest of the NFL about how they treat their players. Now, the good news is that talks between Hendrickson and the team started back up in mid-June after months of silence, but the bad news is they're still reportedly about $67 million apart per year.
my
And here's where I have to
gosh.
say something.
Just go ahead
that
and trade him,
might
bro.
anger a lot of
Like,
Cincinnati Bengals
why
fans,
go
but it
through
needs-
all of this when training camp is right around the corner? Why go through all of this? Go ahead and trade him. Sign Shamar Stewart, then everything is you know what I'm saying, solved, bro. Cause like at this point, y'all just bring in even more drama into the organization, bro. At this point, y'all just making it worse for yourselves.
Needs to be said, Joe Burrow's massive contract extension is the root cause of every single problem Cincinnati is dealing with right now. There's no question in my mind that Joe Burrow has the talent to win multiple Super Bowls for the Cincinnati Bengals, but he made a horrific mistake that could eventually leave him without a single Super Bowl in his career. In September of 2023, Burrow signed a 5-year, $275 million contract extension with $219 million guaranteed.
damn.
That's $55 million per year, and his cap hit for 2025 is $46.1 million. To put that in perspective, Joe Burrow alone is eating up 16.5% of Cincinnati's entire salary cap. But here's what really pisses me off about this whole situation. Yeah, Joe Burrow had leverage, but he also had a choice. He could have followed the Tom Brady model and taken a team.
I don't know why
deal
teams
that
are
would
not
have
doing
allowed
that.
Cincinnati to build a
This
championship
nigga got
roster
7
around him.
rings from taking pay cuts, bro. Like, what are... I understand y'all trying to set y'all family up for generational wealth, but at the same time, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's number one goal, I feel like, is to win a Super Bowl. But it seemed like everybody forgetting how good this nigga was without having to make that much money, bro.
him. Instead, he chose to reset the quarterback market and prioritize his own bank account over team success. And don't tell me that Joe Burrow wouldn't have the ability to easily make up the deficit in endorsements. With love and respect to Patrick Mahomes, I believe Joe Burrow is infinitely more marketable than he is, but you only get those types of deals if you experience tremendous success in the NFL. And Joe
That is
Burrow came
facts.
extremely close to experiencing that type of success already when he was on a rookie scale contract. Tom Brady consistently took below market deals throughout his Patriots career, and analysts estimate he left between $60 to $100 million on the table over
God
his entire
damn.
career. What did Tom Brady get in return? 7 Super Bowl rings. Meanwhile, Joe Burrow got his bag.
This
and
a W
Cincinnati
flex, nigga. Sheesh. 7 rings. God damn.
can't afford to keep their best defensive player. Even Patrick Mahomes, who's won multiple Super Bowls and is arguably the best quarterback in the league, has been taking team-friendly deals and restructuring his contract to give Kansas City more salary cap flexibility. Mahomes literally said his priority is winning rings rather than making money at this point. But not Joe Burrow. He needed to be the highest paid player in NFL history at the time, even though he's never won a playoff game without Jamar Chase having a monster performance. And now, look where we are. And I can easily sit back and give you vague numbers about how Joe Burrow
Hold up. Is he trying to say that Joe Burrow a Jamar Chase merchant?
Bengals, but we need to do a deep dive for you guys to truly understand how bad this is. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins are combining for $93.73 million in cap hits this year. That's 33.6% of Cincinnati's total salary cap, going to just 3 offensive players. Chase signed a 4-year, $161 million contract extension, making him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. His cap hit this year is $23.57 million. T. Higgins got 4 years and $115 million with a cap hit of $24.6 million. You add in Joe Burrow's $46.1 million and you've got 3 guys making more money than entire NFL defenses. And the really stupid part is how poorly Cincinnati structured these contracts. They've made basic mistakes that cost them millions of dollars in additional cap space. For example, Chase's deal includes a $10 million roster bonus that hits entirely in 2025 instead of being spread out, which cost them $8 million in unnecessary cap space. Higgins' deal has similar structural issues that wasted another $3.75 million. So not only did they pay these guys massive money, they were so bad at negotiating the actual structures that they left nearly $12 million in potential cap savings on the table. That's enough money to have kept a solid veteran player or 2. And when you take a look at the Cincinnati Bengals, you know that they desperately need it. And you don't need to go that far into history to realize how badly this screws over the Bengals. 2021 is easily the most successful Cincinnati Bengals season in recent memory.
Only because damn near half of our team were hurt,
very close to defeating the
I 100% agree. If half our team wasn't on IR, they wouldn't have made it to the Super Bowl, bro.
But during that year, they also had one of the best defenses in the league. A huge reason for that was Jesse Bates III, their all-pro safety, who was the highest rated player on the team during that magical season. Whereas Jesse Bates now, he's playing for the Atlanta Falcons on a 4-year, $64 million contract. Cincinnati couldn't afford to keep him because they were saving all their money for Burrow's extension. So they lost their best defensive player to pay their quarterback. And now their defense is ranked 25 in the league. They also lost DJ Reader, their nose tackle.
Yeah, DJ Reader, I forgot about him.
To the Detroit Lions. Cincinnati literally cited losing Reader as one of the main reasons their defense struggled so badly in 2024. Again, they couldn't afford to keep him because all of their money went to the offense. And now they're about to lose Trey Hendrickson, who led the entire NFL in sacks, because they can't afford to pay him market value. Do you see the pattern here? Every good defensive player they've had has either left for more money elsewhere or is trying to leave because Cincinnati can't afford to pay both sides of the ball. Meanwhile, teams like the Kansas City Chiefs and Philadelphia Eagles managed to pay their quarterbacks and still maintain competitive rosters on both sides of the ball. Do you know why? Because their quarterbacks care more about winning championships than setting salary records.
And they're paying their players on time or before other receivers got to get their fucking contract and shit, because they pay Smitty and AJ Brown before Chase, Higgins, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown and stuff like that. They pay their players on time, unlike Cincinnati and Dallas.
Managers know how to negotiate these contracts. I've praised Howie Roseman for how quickly he was able to extend Devontae Smith and AJ Brown before the wide receiver market exploded, and allocating those funds elsewhere to improve the team. Which brings me to the biggest problem the Cincinnati Bengals have: their front office. Katie Blackburn, who handles contract negotiations for Cincinnati, has a reputation around the league for being stubborn and cheap in all the wrong ways. The woman literally said that
I'm not gonna say it. I want to say something so bad. I'm not gonna say it, bro. I'm not gonna say it.
With whatever they offer him. That's not negotiating. That's being delusional and not.
If y'all know what I'm thinking about, y'all know.
But here's the thing that really shows you how backwards this organization is. They're notorious for not guaranteeing money beyond the first year of veteran contracts. But then they turned around and gave Joe Burrow $219 million in guarantees. They'll be cheap with a defensive player who's actually producing at an elite level, but they'll bend over backwards to make their quarterback the highest paid player in NFL history. One prominent NFL agent who's dealt with Cincinnati said they're comfortable with the uncomfortable and just don't relent. That's not a negotiating strategy, that's just being difficult for the sake of being difficult. Now imagine for a second that Joe Burrow had taken the Tom Brady approach when he was negotiating his extension. Let's say instead of demanding $55 million per year, he took $45 million, still making him one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, but leaving an extra $10 $10 million per year in cap space. That extra $10 million could have kept Jesse Bates. It could have extended Trey Hendrickson before he became a problem. It could have given them the flexibility to structure Jamar Chase and T. Higgins deals better. Hell, they could have afforded to keep DJ Reader and actually had a functional defense. You probably could have also extended Jamar Chase and T. Higgins a season sooner, which would have saved additional money. By the time this contract is done, Cincinnati will have wasted Joe Burrow's entire prime, paying him so much money that they couldn't afford to put a competitive team around him. It's the complete opposite of the Patriots' approach with Brady, and it's going to cost them multiple Super Bowls. Let's get back to Shamar Stewart for a minute. This kid is absolutely right to refuse to sign that contract. The Bengals are literally using him as a guinea pig for new contract language that's way more punitive than anything they've used before. Think about it from Stewart's perspective. He gets drafted 17th overall, which comes with a predetermined salary of about $18.94 million over 4 years. He can't negotiate the money, but he can sure as hell negotiate the terms. That's not normal, that's not fair, and it's definitely not something you ask of a first round pick when you didn't ask it of the guy who was drafted right after him the year prior. Stewart's agent is reportedly from the same agency that represents players like Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, so they're not some rookie operation that doesn't know what they're doing. They know this language is unprecedented and unfair, and they're right to push back. And what really bothers me about this whole situation is that it shows Cincinnati hasn't actually changed from the same old Bengals that we used to mock. Sure, they made it to the Super Bowl a few years ago, but that was in spite of their front
never
office,
been good
not
to
because
begin
of
with,
it.
bro.
They have a pattern of letting good
And
players
what I still don't
contract.
understand, bro, is the fact that people still try to say that Joe Burrow is better than Lamar. Bro, Bengals fans are still literally holding on to that 2021 Super Bowl appearance that they lost. I've never seen a single fan base hold on to a Super Bowl loss more than the Bengals. And Joe Burrow's only beaten Lamar one time. And what year was that? 2021. Well, half our team was on IR. So with a healthy team, Joe Burrow can't beat Lamar, bro. Like, come on, gang. Come on, nigga. Like, Lamar's 6-1 against Joe Burrow. Like, come on. And 10-1 against Cincinnati in general. Like, come on, bro. Them the little bros,
Jesse Bates,
man.
DJ Reader, and now potentially Trey Hendrickson. Meanwhile, they're creating new problems with their draft picks by trying to implement punitive contract language that they've never used before. And through it all, Joe Burrow just sits there collecting his $46 million per year while his defense falls apart around him. When reporters asked him about Trey Hendrickson's holdout being a distraction, he said, of course. But he's never once suggested that maybe he should restructure his deal to help
Facts.
the team keep their best defensive player. Burrow talks a big game about
players don't
wanting
be
to win
thinking, bro.
championships, but when push comes to shove, he chose the money over giving his team the best chance to compete. And now Cincinnati is paying the ultimate price. So you might be wondering what's going to happen next. Well, training camp starts on July 23rd, and right now it looks like both Stewart and Hendrickson will be no-shows. Hendrickson will face $50,000 per day in fines that can't be forgiven, while Stewart faces $40,000 per day with the possibility of some forgiveness since he's a rookie. For Hendrickson, there are a few key dates to watch. The Bengals in his camp reportedly resumed talks in mid-June after months of silence, which is the first positive development that we've seen. If they can't work something out, Hendrickson could absolutely follow through on his threat to sit out games. The man is 30 years old and has been massively underpaid relative to his production for years, and this is his last chance to get a big contract. He's not going to back down. For Stewart, the key date is August 5th. If he's not signed by then Cincinnati can't trade him even if they wanted to. After that, it becomes a straight standoff until November 11th, which is the final deadline for him to sign and be eligible to play in 2025. If Stewart makes it to November 11th without signing, he can sit out the entire season and re-enter the 2026 NFL draft. That would be absolutely unprecedented.
Wait, hold up. Go back. Hold up.
Trade him even if they wanted to. After that, it becomes a straight standoff until November 11th, which is the final deadline for him to sign and be eligible to play in 2025. If Stewart makes it to November 11th without signing, he can sit out the
Damn, bro.
entire season and re-enter the 2026 NFL draft. That would be absolutely unprecedented, but given how stubborn both sides have been, it's not out of the question. Do you know who I really feel bad for in this entire situation? The Bengals fans who thought their team had finally turned the corner. These people suffered through decades of playoff failures and front office incompetence, and just when it looked like Cincinnati had built something special, the organization
And what's
finds new
ironic,
ways to shoot
both
themselves in
teams that resign in Ohio, bro, a horrible front office. Not surprised, gang.
Foot. Cincinnati should be gearing up for another Super Bowl run with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins leading one of the most explosive offenses in the league. And, well, I guess they will get that, but their defense isn't going to be able to hold down the fort to keep their offense in games. But the significance about this is the Shamar Stewart situation specifically could set a new precedent for how rookies handle contract disputes going forward. If Stewart successfully forces Cincinnati to remove that punitive language, or if he actually sits out and re-enters the draft, it's going to embolden other rookies to push back against unfair contract terms. That would be a good thing, by the way. NFL teams have had way too much leverage over rookies for too long, especially since the rookie wage scale was implemented. If a first-round pick can successfully stand up to a team trying to include unprecedented punitive language, it levels the playing field a little bit. My personal prediction is we're going to see Trey Hendrickson get traded, and that the Cincinnati Bengals should eventually back down from the punitive language they included.
They got no choice
With Shamar Stewart, but
they got no choice,
this is
bro.
Once again, a horrible look for the Cincinnati Bengals. So let me know in the comment section down below, especially if you're a Bengals fan. I didn't mean to come at your team so hard, but this is clearly one of the
do we
most
got any
disadvantaged
Bengals fans on the
situations
channel,
in the
man?
entire NFL. So
If
before the
so,
video
bro,
ends, I want to
y'all
give a
let me know
shout
down
out
in
to
the
our
comments
sponsor
below.
Fume once again.
We don't care about Fume. But hey, man, shit, y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments below. This whole situation is crazy to me. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like, this is the first time I think I've ever witnessed a rookie standoff like this. Like, yeah, Bengals, bro, y'all are fucked. I ain't gonna lie, bro. So, y'all better trade Trey Hendrickson and sign, you know what I'm saying, sign Shamar Stewart. And Joe Burrow, bro, take a pay cut, gang. Because you're literally the main reason why y'all are in a big hole right now. Well, the Cincinnati front office is. But you're part of it too, gang. You know what I'm saying? But y'all let me know what other NFL videos I'm going to react to. Without further ado, I'm out.
I'm chosen. I'ma make them feel me. Make them people when they show me. And if you don't know me, I'ma make sure that you know me. I hate to say it, but I really think I'm broken. But I know I'm chosen. I really know I'm chosen. I know I'm chosen. I was just lost a year ago, but now I'm focused. When good at sports, this microphone can be my trophy. Not taking drugs, I found a better way of coping.